Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're navigating the landscape of Canadian retirement, you know that the rules, the taxes, and the accounts can feel, well, incredibly complex. It's like a giant puzzle. Today, we're exploring a seriously powerful tool designed to cut right through all that noise, the Canada Retirement Planner. It's this dynamic, interactive modeling tool built from the ground up around Canadian tax rules. And let's be honest, those rules can sometimes be as clear as mud. So let's see if this tool can actually help us make sense of our financial futures. Okay, let's dive into this. For decades, the financial industry has hammered this one single question into our heads. How much money do I actually need to retire? We've all been trained to chase this one single magical net worth number. But you know what? That question is just fundamentally flawed. When you actually stop working, the total size of your nest egg isn't nearly as important as how you access it. See, traditional calculators usually assume flat spending. They basically tell you to blindly draw down one account until it hits zero, completely ignoring taxes. It's an old, flawed way of doing things. But an optimized approach, that's a whole different ballgame. It acknowledges that you need a real, year-by-year strategy. It's dynamic, it's tax-aware, and it smooths out your withdrawals so you aren't hit with massive tax bills later in life. So to understand how this all works, we're going to take a guided journey through the 5 core pillars of building a realistic, optimized retirement plan. First, moving beyond the magic number. Second, government benefits and timing. Third, mapping assets and taxes. Fourth, the 3 stages of spending. And finally, the optimized drawdown strategy. Pillar 1, beyond the magic number. We're shifting the focus from saving to spending. Building a real plan actually starts with your basic household information and your expected longevity. Because, let's face it, funding a 20-year retirement is vastly different from a 40-year one. From there, it's not about an arbitrary savings goal anymore. The tool is specifically designed around answering crucial, practical questions. Things like, how much can I actually spend every single year? Which accounts should I draw from first? When exactly should I start my CPP and OAS? What are the tax implications? And what about the remaining estate? Moving to Pillar 2, government benefits and timing, optimizing CPP and OAS payouts. Now, the Canadian retirement system features the Canada Pension Plan, or CPP, and Old Age Security, OAS. These are really complex programs, and trying to calculate them in a vacuum is a huge mistake. The tool allows you to manually enter your estimates if you already have them from Service Canada, but it also features a highly detailed built-in calculator. For CPP, it factors in your historical pensionable earnings and things like child-rearing years. For OAS, it calculates based on your years of residence in Canada after age 18. This is absolutely crucial for immigrants evaluating their eligibility for a partial OAS pension based on periods they lived outside the country. And this brilliantly illustrates why timing is literally everything here. It turns out, if you take CPP as early as age 60, you face a massive 36% reduction compared to your age 65 baseline. But if you delay it to age 70, you get a surprising 42% increase. There's just no way you want to guess on this. The planner tests all these start ages to find the highest scoring household plan for your exact situation. Pillar 3, mapping assets and taxes, getting a real understanding of the Canadian landscape. Right, this is where the rubber meets the road. You absolutely must remember that the Canada Revenue Agency does not treat all your money the same way. Withdrawing $100,000 from different accounts has wildly different consequences. For example, pulling $100,000 from an RRSP or RRIF is drastically different from taking it out of a TFSA. The RRSP withdrawal is generally fully taxable income, while the TFSA is completely tax-free. And if you have a non-registered account, only 50% of your realized capital gains are taxable based on your adjusted cost base, meaning your original principal isn't taxed again. The planner maps all of this out, including the estate impact, because a large remaining RSP balance could trigger a huge final tax bill, while a TFSA remains tax-free for your heirs. Which brings us to a very, very important age for Canadians, 71. Actually, scratch that, it's more like a mandatory deadline. By the end of the year you turn 71, your RRSP must generally convert to our RRIF, which triggers mandatory minimum withdrawals the following year. Traditional calculators almost always ignore this, but the planner automatically accounts for it. It enforces those minimums as you age, modeling federal and provincial brackets to keep your projections grounded in absolute reality. On to Pillar 4, 3 stages of spending, designing a realistic retirement lifestyle. Assuming you're going to spend exactly the same amount every single year, just adjusted for inflation, is completely disconnected from how real humans live. We just don't act like that. Instead, the planner lets you map out your actual human behavior using the memorable rule of 3 stages. First, you've got the go-go stage. Early retirement, lots of travel, hobbies, higher activity. Then the slow-go stage, when you naturally adopt a more moderate lifestyle. And finally, the no-go stage, where your discretionary spending drops off. You get to control when each stage ends and set a specific annual spending target for each one. But beyond daily living, life happens, right? Maybe you want to help a kid buy a house, or you finally have to tackle that suddenly unavoidable $60,000 home renovation. Instead of the calculator assuming that $60,000 hit happens all at once on January 1st of a single year, this tool gives you the flexibility to spread it out. You can enter the total cost, pick a start year, and smoothly spread it over multiple years, like mapping it as $20,000 a year for 3 years. Finally, Pillar 5. The optimized drawdown strategy. This is bringing it all together. Okay, this is the real climax of the explainer. This is where all your inputs, your longevity, benefits, taxes, and spending habits converge with 2026 tax brackets and economic assumptions. When you hit calculate, the software's brain goes to work. It rapidly balances a complex set of trade-offs behind the scenes. Its number one priority? Fund your planned spending. But while doing that, it's actively dodging high tax brackets, respecting those RRIF minimums, strategically preserving your tax-free TFSA value, and even estimating estate taxes to preserve your wealth over the long haul. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how all that incredibly complex math is presented back to you. The results provide this beautiful, color-coded chart of your annual income sources. Instead of staring at a giant wall of confusing spreadsheet numbers, you can visually track exactly where your money comes from each year. You can investigate a year and say, okay, this year I'm drawing from my TFSA to keep my taxable income low, but next year my CPP kicks in. It makes the invisible mechanics of your retirement cash flow completely visible. And before we wrap up, I want to reassure you about a crucial detail regarding your highly sensitive financial data. This planner operates on a local by default model. That means your data is stored locally right on your device. You literally don't even have to create an account or send anything to a server. Now, if you want to sync across multiple devices, encrypted cloud sync is an option, but by default, your privacy is completely protected. So we've dismantled the magic number, looked at benefit timing, the reality of taxation, and the changing stages of life. The Candidate Retirement Planner is this amazing interactive sandbox where you can test your own scenarios. So what does this all mean? Well, the ultimate question isn't just how much you need to save. The real question is, given the money you have, CPP, OAS, and the strict rules of the Canadian tax system, how will you actually fund your retirement year by year? And more importantly, if you don't run the math, how much of your hard-earned money are you currently on track to leave on the table for the tax man?